G'day and welcome. I'm Fluxcore. I've been Street Fighter enthusiast for many years. So I'm just going to give you a bit of background on my history with this game and then get into trying out this awesome new core for the MiSTer hardware platform, which I'll also explain. But let's just go into the history part for a start. So I'm in New Zealand, and growing up in New Zealand, we got everything late. Movies, TV shows would take years to get released over here. Like, we're part of the PAL region, and PAL was already the slow dog in the race of getting everything released over here, and New Zealand was kind of the arse end of the PAL world even. So, but for some reason I feel like we got arcade games and things like Street Fighter actually reasonably timely. I don't know how much that relates to us being near Japan and China and those sort of places, whether it was easy to import things for us or what, but I feel like we weren't too slow with Street Fighter and arcade games in general. But like most of the places in the world, arcades in general were seen as pretty dodgy over here, especially by my parents, who wouldn't let me go into them. Back alley sort of dodgy rooms, dimly lit, tons of creepy people stuck in there. So yeah, as I said, my parents wouldn't really let me go in there, but Street Fighter in particular was so pervasive. There were just arcade cabinets of it everywhere. Just fish and chip shops, sporting facilities, universities, just anywhere that people would have to waste a bunch of time. Basically, you could almost guarantee there was going to be a Street Fighter cabinet hanging around somewhere. And people seem to know their stuff in this game too over here. Like all the glitches and everything, people just knew how to do them. So even though I wasn't allowed to play any of these games in the arcades or whatever, since they were everywhere, like there were two games which just even just the demo screens, the rolling demo screens like I'm showing you now, just transfixed me. They just looked so amazing compared to everything else that was out there. I would just sit there watching them cycling over and over again, because they were just mind-blowing how big these sprites were, how colourful everything was, the moves that people could do. It's just crazy. So when I was in intermediate school, there was a fish and chip shop sort of, 10 minutes walk away or something, and they had a Street Fighter 2 machine there. So after school and stuff, all the kids would go over there and play, and I don't think anyone really played two-player much. It was mainly just against the CPU, but for some reason this fish and chip shop, if you bet the game for the first time, they would give you a free bottle of Mr. Chip's chips. I have no idea why. I don't know how they policed this. It didn't really make much sense to me at the time, but I knew a kid who was really good at the game, and so one day after school or whatever, I was like, okay, I want to have a play, see if I can get my bottle of chips. I was hopeless at this point, so he was like, oh, I'll give me your seconds, and I'll get you through. So I'd go through, mash my buttons and lose, and then he'd win the next couple of rounds, and we'd just do that until he beat the game, and I went over and got a free bottle of chips. So that was pretty sweet. But he knew everything. I don't know how he gathered all this knowledge, but he knew how to do all of the glitches. He was just a master at the game. So there were just so many people. Like, everyone seemed to know how to do all of these glitches. I don't know how, but everyone here was just a master at this game. So I never really got to play it much in the arcades, as I said. So most of my time with the early Street Fighter 2 games was during school holidays and stuff, where I would hire out like a Mega Drive or a Super Nintendo, hire out a couple of Street Fighter games. You could also quite often hire out, it was called this Battle Station. It was like 2 arcade sticks in a big sort of box that would plug into the Mega Drive or the Super Nintendo, and let you play the home console games with arcade sticks. So sometimes I'd hire one of those out and invite my friends around and stuff, and we'd just bust out Street Fighter for all day for, you know, the couple of days that we'd have the console for hire, because I didn't have any Mega Drive or Super Nintendo. I didn't even have a Master System or anything like that back in the day. Wasn't until much later till I started getting consoles and things like that. So that was pretty much it until about 95 or something. I didn't really play Street Fighter or anything much after that. I was more into, I don't know, wrestling and Nintendo 64 and all that kind of crap. But about 1999 or so, some of my friends moved out of their parents' places and into some flats and things, and after they'd moved about a bit, they had one flat that we all used to hang out at, and for some reason one of their previous landlords must have had a bunch of arcade cabinets in his garage or something, and they seemed to know that he didn't lock this garage. So one day apparently they went into the garage and just looked at all his arcade machines and went, let's take this one. I think they just went for one that had 6 buttons, and you know, it wasn't labelled with what game was in it or anything. They had no idea whether it worked. They just brought it back to their flat, plugged it in, and lo and behold, it was Street Fighter 2 World Warrior. So that was pretty awesome. So for about, I don't know, 6-9 months or something they were living there, they had this Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinet that we would all just, you know, just play constantly, like Friday, Saturday evenings and stuff, and trying to learn all the tricks and things. So I was starting to learn how to do some of the handcuffs and things like that there. And the guy who actually was the main tenant of that place got so annoyed with the Street Fighter that we spent so much more time invested in Street Fighter than actually hanging out with everyone, you know, watching movies, playing music and stuff. We were all just sort of playing this World Warrior machine instead. He wanted it gone, so he sort of demanded that it be smashed to bits, which it was. I don't know what happened to the arcade board, but I took the controls from it, like the sticks and buttons and things, and made my own arcade stick for the PC. This was pretty early back in the day of stick making, I think. I had like a Microsoft Sidewinder control pad that I hacked up and wired all the buttons to and stuff. It was pretty much where I learnt anything about soldering at all, and was using that to play some of the really early emulators like Callus 95, which had just sort of come out and had Street Fighter 2 World Warrior available for it. There was also a PC port of Street Fighter Alpha 1, which I played quite a bit, just playing it like Street Fighter 2. So I didn't really know what I was doing alpha-wise, but just as a way of playing it. Actually, I played that with the control pad before I hacked the stick, I think. Yeah, that was all just thumb buttons and things. That wasn't with the arcade stick, but yeah, Callus came out with the emulation. So it was like the first touch of emulation that I had, and it was to play Street Fighter 2, I think. So from there was where I really started learning how to do all the Guile glitches and all the various tricks and things in Street Fighter 2. That was, you know, we just played on emulators and things around in people's houses on computers for a while. So fast forward a bit again, sort of 2007, the fighting game communities were starting to pop up around the place, like Ozhado in Australia, and Shuriken in America had been around since, I don't know, 2002 or something like that, which I was, you know, a member of the forums of. And I thought it was about time to make a New Zealand fighting game community, so I made NZism in about 2007. And one of the earlier articles that I wrote up was my Guile glitch guide, or the initial version of my Guile glitch guide, because there wasn't really a lot of information around how to do these tricks. So I came up with some early revision of that. And then about 2011, I think, was when I really got a lot more in depth in how to do the glitches, because emulators came out that allowed you to record inputs. Like you could actually write scripts that would allow you to replay the exact same inputs from a starting, you know, save state over and over until it does what you want. And that allowed me to really sort of scientifically go in and go, okay, doing these inputs, does this get me a magic throw? Does this get me, invisible throw? People seem to not like the term magic throw. You know, how do you do an invisible throw, magic throw this way? How do you do it the other way? How do you do it and they don't actually get thrown? Because there are all kinds of tricks. And how do you do the invincibility glitch and all this kind of thing? So I came up with a bunch of scripts that allowed me to actually play around with that and work out exactly what inputs were required to get all those various glitches out. And I made a much more comprehensive version of my glitch guide and actually made a video about it as well, which is up on YouTube, on the NZVIDSM YouTube channel, which I had a Google about yesterday, and someone had actually stolen it and put it up on their channel. So that's pretty cool, actually, that it was someone thought it was worthwhile stealing. It's pretty high praise, I think. Yeah, I haven't really done much since then. It's been a bit easier to, well, not anymore. It was relatively easy to pick up the odd bit of arcade hardware back then. So I've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 CPS 1 boards. You know, probably 3 or 4 of those are Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting. I'm borrowing my friend Stu's Stereo Monkey's World Warrior board still for the last, I don't know, 5 years or something. So I picked up quite a bit of arcade hardware and, you know, able to do all the tricks on those as well. But so let me introduce this MiSTer platform if you're not aware of it. So the last few years, this technology called FPGA has popped up, which effectively allows people to program them to exactly replicate circuit boards and layouts and chips. So you can define, you know, like this chip does this thing in software, but you can use software to define how all the chips fit together and what the chips do and all this sort of stuff. So you can actually replicate arcade hardware or any hardware, computer hardware, console hardware, all this kind of stuff in this device accurately. You know, all the timing information, the propagation delays, all this kind of stuff can be modeled. And theoretically, it allows you to make one-to-one replications of arcade boards. There have been quite a few of these cores, they call them cores, released for this platform. It's called the MiSTer platform. It's a sort of a second version of a platform which was called MiST earlier, which was mainly for Atari ST and I think Amiga replication. But this board called the DE-10 Nano came out last year sometime, and is a very powerful board, and it's about 120 US dollars, heavily subsidized for the education market, and people have really flocked to it to use it to replicate these the FPGA cores. There's all kinds of stuff available for it now. Mega Drive, Super Nintendo, Neo Geo, even the Sega CD has been replicated now. There's, you know, all the hardware, all the computers like C64 and Amiga, all this stuff's all out there. And one of the more recent things that everyone's really excited for is the Capcom PlaySystem 1 CPS 1 board, which runs Street Fighter, Strider, all kinds of stuff. Final Fight, Ghouls and Ghosts. This guy, Jose Tejada, or Tejada, Topapate, is released the beta version of his cores to Patreon supporters. And earlier this morning, or late last night, or something like that, he released the version which actually supports Street Fighter 2. And as far as I've heard, it works pretty well, and it looks like it's working pretty well here. I haven't seen any real glitches in the attract modes and things like that yet. I haven't actually tried coining up or setting my inputs or anything like that yet, so this will be a complete first for me, as well as probably for any of you seeing it. So this device, let me just say a bit more about its capabilities. It outputs native HDMI, 1080p by default, I think. I mean, it'll scale down to other things as well. And it takes USB inputs. So I've just got a normal, well, it's not actually a very normal arcade stick, but it is a USB arcade stick compatible with the PlayStation 3. plugged into this device, and it's plugged into a LCD 1080p monitor. I'm just streaming it through a Elgato HD60, usual HDMI kind of device, and it's just works pretty much. You just get a SD card, a mini SD card, put all the ROMs and cores and things on it, and it just works. RS Matrix has asked, is there someone in New Zealand making the add-on parts for MiSTer? I don't think so. I bought all... so the only add-on part I actually have is a SD RAM board, which it wasn't particularly cheap. I think it was about 90 US. And that allows you to run... Well, the 128 megabyte stick allows you to run all of the Neo Geo cores games, even the really large ones, because some of them are huge. You can get much cheaper add-ons like the 32 megabyte SD RAM board, which will run most of things, just not the bigger Neo Geo things. I'm not sure about CPS 1, how big the SD cards it needs, but yeah, there's a few other add-on boards you can get, like I/O boards, which allow you to what do they do? Analog video out and things like that, so you can plug them into TVs and arcade monitors. You can plug native controllers into those, I think. There's a few things, but I haven't actually bothered getting one of those. But yeah, as far as I know, there's no one selling the add-on parts in New Zealand. And that basically means we can't get them at the moment because you can't ship anything here for the next 2 weeks, but hopefully that becomes less of an issue soon. So I think I've probably covered pretty much everything that I wanted to yak about before getting into trying this core out. So I'll probably begin, I guess. So there's a built-in menu for the MiSTer, which allows you to set scan lines and flip the screen, all this kind of stuff. I haven't actually set up any buttons yet, so I'll just do that. Very similar to any other sort of emulation option, you just right, left, down, up. 6 buttons. Start coin. I don't need a pause. Continue. Escape out of that. So I should be able to coin up. Indeed. Just give myself some volume. Unmute in here. There you go, coins. So let's see how it goes. Let me actually put the keyboard on as well, so I'm not just losing to the CPU while I'm trying to do this sort of stuff. So first thing I want to try with Guile is his stance, or I don't know what they call it otherwise. It's like this upside down kick, which freezes into a sonic boom. So you just do it by doing the upside down kick and then doing the sonic boom in the middle, and that glitch seems to work fine. So that's kind of indicating that in general it will function. Do I have the movement keys in the keyboard? So this is stance, and even though it's frozen here, I can actually get out of it by just doing a flash kick and I'll continue the game, so this isn't a problem.
You win. Perfect.
I can... probably just turning down the game's the easiest way to fix my volume issues. I haven't actually streamed before, especially over a game, so I don't really know what I'm doing. Just learning how to go, I guess. Let's see. Ooh, that was close. Just going for the hardest tricks right off the bat, why not? A little bit slow. Ooh. Okay, that's interesting. I wouldn't have expected that to happen. I mean, I may have. Oh, I may have accidentally done the reset glitch there, but I didn't think so. Let me just go back into Street Fighter here. Oh, I've got to set my buttons again. So there's a reset glitch, which is basically doing a flash kick with heavy punch and then heavy kick straight afterwards. And some of the old crappy emulators, like Callus and quite a few versions of MAME, that actually doesn't reset the game. It causes like the scrolling glitch where Guile and the opponent just scroll up and down the screen over and over, and you can do some weird things which, you know, cause the damage to happen or just freeze the people in place and all kinds of silly stuff. But as far as I know, that does not work in actual hardware. It's only an emulator thing. So I'm definitely going to test out what that does in this. Right, left, down, up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Come on. Let me actually save the settings this time. Okay. So I'm not sure whether I accidentally did the reset glitch or if that was an actual glitch with the emulator, so I can test that further. Oh, come on. Where's my player 2? No? Come on, Blanca. Let me try and work out why this player 2 thing isn't working. The remapping of buttons and stuff is actually kind of weird in this, to be honest. It's not quite as straightforward as you might hope. Finish. Why did that work the first time I tried it and not now? Oh! Bear with me, sorry. Maybe I go back to the initial MiSTer screen. don't know why this screen doesn't show up very well in the elgato, but it's just the elgato being crap probably. No? Was it just a fluke? Maybe I should have prepared better. I thought this was going to work. Oh, I just have to try and do something against the computer. Okay, handcuffs. Oh man. Wow, this is looking bad. Fine, let's get out the easy way. How do I get two-player working? Was I just pressing... Oh, some other button. Ooh, I'm learning. That'll do, whatever. Okay, handcuffs, flash kick with medium punch and then medium kick. Stance, just do the upside down kick and then interrupt it with a fireball. So we'll go for magic throw, invincible. Okay, so that's the crappy invincibility that doesn't really help because I'm just doing it against a frozen opponent anyway. So to get out of that, you do another magic throw on sort of diagonals. If you let go of the buttons too early, they come back into handcuffs, and you can just magic throw to get them out. So if I want to do the... Oh, I don't have much time. Ah, that'll do. I think you can load up cheats and things on this MiSTer as well, so you can probably do cheats to give infinite health and things like that, but I haven't really bothered to look into that. But so far this is looking pretty good for glitches. I'll move you closer. Every other way but that one. Okay, I can just do it from the other side, I guess. Oh. Oh, useless. I'm trying to get into the invincible golden stance. Where's the button that I found to keep playing? Actually, continues might not be on. Smashing all the keys. Huh. Oh, you can turn off background layers and things as well. That's pretty cool. But it's not finding where the two-player start button is. I did it somehow. I don't have many more keys that I can press. Oh. Don't ask me. Pressed all those buttons before. Upside down kick. Move king closer. Do the magic throw on a diagonal and then release the buttons quickly and then do a sonic boom in the other direction to try and get into invincible. No, that was close. Not close. No. It's been a while. So that reset I got right at the start must have been doing the actual reset, which I will do soon once I just do a invincible once. Interesting. That's really interesting. So that's what happens when you don't release the buttons fast enough. They actually do get magic thrown. There you go. So, Guile's completely invincible now. Does Ken have kicks? I don't think he does. I can't hurricane kick, doesn't matter. Can't be thrown, can't be hit. And just like the stance, upside down kick, frozen stance, this is, people call it golden stance as well. You can get out of it just by doing a flash kick, even after time over. So it's actually a pretty awesome trick. You can just get a life lead, do the invincibility, and then you literally win. They can't do anything about it, and you can just get out at the end. So one trick I want to try is a free, okay, let's do a free sonic boom. So I just throw them to the right, keep holding right, and then tap little punch, and a sonic boom should come out. Yep. So that's one thing that allows you to do multiple magic throws over and over. So you can just hold one direction and keep doing the button tap for magic throw, and they'll just keep getting magic thrown. But that's the thing that allows you to do that. So another thing I wanted to try was a free flash kick, which is you throw them and then charge down a flash kick and do up in the kick button just as you recover, and Guile does like a backwards walk for a frame, and then you can just walk forwards and then press kick and it'll just do a flash kick. So let's just try it. It'll probably take a few tries to get. Yeah, that won't be doing it. Throws do so much damage in this game that it's going to be a few KOs before I get this probably, but it's probably one frame trick. Can I get Ken to enter the game again? I think it's a combination of buttons. So, trying to get the free flash kick. Yep, that's it. So I've got one. Yep. I don't know why you press kick once and a little kick comes out and then you've got a free flash kick, but that just seems to be how it works. I don't think that's it. No. Man, 4 throws. This game's ridiculous. But that confirms the free flash kick works, so there's not actually many glitches left to confirm. I just want to try it, do it one more time. Yep, that's it. So press little kick once and I can just stand there and press another one. Oh, I may have ran out of time. It doesn't last forever. Yep. There you go. Free flash kick. So what else is there left? Reset. I think that's the only interesting thing left. So reset's the same as handcuffs, where you do a flash kick with both the middle and both middle buttons, which apparently I can't do anymore. But you do it with the heavies, so you sort of flick your hand down from the top of heavy punch down to heavy kick, and it basically just resets the game. It's not particularly exciting, but it is a bug which is different in emulators than hardware, so confirming that it works properly in this is kind of important. So let me just do handcuffs first, just to make sure that I can actually do it. Magic throw out, very good. So doing this should reset the game. Very good. So I think before, when I was trying to do those magic throws for invincibility, I must have been accidentally doing that input. I guess if I did the heavy kick instead of the heavy punch first, because the motion is very similar for the magic throw out of stance to a flash kick and a sonic boom. So probably depending on which input you get first, whether it's the kick or the punch, it'll either do the reset or the magic throw. And I guess I was just not quite in practice for that. Alright, so I might just have just a couple of games of World Warrior as Guile, just playing against the CPU just for a bit of fun, and then I might switch over to hyper fighting and just check how that runs, especially seeing how fast it is compared to this, because it should be really fast. Chun-Li is usually pretty easy to get to do various things like that, because she'll just jump into you all day. But yeah, this actually feels faster than I expect World Warrior. Usually when I go back to World Warrior, it feels like it's just absolutely the slowest thing ever. But this doesn't feel quite as slow. Oh, come on. Weak. I used to just be able to demolish this game, just doing glitches everywhere, but I feel like this is probably actually really low CPU level. The current cores don't have very much in the way of dip switch settings available to the user, so I don't have much ability to run timeout to fiddle with the CPU difficulty and things like that. I may just be much used to playing on the harder difficulties. I do not like playing Blanca in any Street Fighter game. Oh. Come on. Ah. But it feels really good. It feels like emulation of CPS 1 on, you know, in software on computers is not too bad. It doesn't feel terrible. Like CPS 2 stuff like Street Fighter Alpha 2 feels much worse. But this feels really good. Okay, invincibility and stance. Very cool. Sweet. Getting it back a bit. So for Street Fighter 2's, Champion Edition's my least favourite because there's not really much, I don't find much fun about it. Like, Dictator is just super overpowered, and Hyper Fighting is just better balanced and more fun because it's faster as a competitive game. But there's something pretty just fun about World Warrior just doing all this silly stuff. It's just ridiculous. Oh. Stars. It's gonna be embarrassing if I get stuck in handcuffs at some point. Yeah, it feels really smooth. It doesn't feel laggy at all, even though I'm using, you know, arcade stick through USB. Some people have... Oh, Zangief is one of the characters that I do have some problems with. Oh, too far away. I always forget Zangief. He gets out of dizzies like in an instant. The computer can just mash out of dizzies so fast with Zangief. Ooh, I can do the magic throws and things on the car as well. Just need to break all the top and stuff so that you can get to the point where you can do charge moves. No. Oh, that's gonna be sad. Oh, not one. But you can just do, you can do so many of these glitches into all the other glitches, you know, stance into stance. It's just crazy how many things you can do. It's just so much fun, just doing magic throws into magic throws and the handcuffs into invincible and then back into stance and then into a magic throw. It's just... Ooh. if nothing else, I cannot recommend the MiSTer FPGA platform highly enough. It's such a, for the amount of things you can do, it's just staggering. They're they're looking at well, the guy's making this CPS 1 release. After he's done this, is probably gonna start looking at CPS 2. So I bought a CPS 2 board for a couple of hundred New Zealand or something. I bought a HDMI HDMI board for it that you got to solder a bunch of crap in, and then you've got HDMI output from that, and that was, I don't know, a couple of hundred US plus shipping, or with shipping. And a CPS2 multi-board, which was, I don't know, 400 US or something, which runs all the CPS2 board games off a SD card. So I don't know how much I spent for that, probably $1,000 all up or something New Zealand, and for the same price, well, I mean for the same benefit, HDMI output, all the games. I mean it's not native hardware. It's never going to be exactly the same probably, but it's it feels close enough. And for 120 US, plus all the other stuff it can do, all the other platforms, PC Engine CD is apparently coming soon. It's just staggering.
Round one, fight.
Is that the dirtiest tick throw ever? Ooh. You can make Honda jump just by tapping medium kick, crouching medium kick quite a lot. There we go. He's really easy to practice doing flash kick and then magic throw on, because you can just crouch and tap medium kick forever until he jumps, and then just do a little flash kick and then try and magic throw him afterwards. Bit too far away there, I think. Oh, unless you can't do flash kicks. Ooh. I don't think there's any way out of that. They might, even if they dragon punch when you're doing the magic throw, you're invincible. So if you ever touch them, you can just magic throw them. You can do magic throws on this as well. You gotta hit a barrel. You can get into stance here as well. There you go, magic throw. You can also do it when you're getting up, I suppose. That's the other way of doing it. But yeah, you have to hit something to have enough charge from a sweep to be able to do charge moves, like the flash kick that you need, I mean the sonic boom that you need to be able to do the magic throw. Jump at me. Oh. Don't quite have the timing down right for the... It's just unbelievable how overpowered this glitch is. Ooh, he's probably got me. Yep. That's the problem with when you're all you're trying to do is get glitches. You get a bit too tunnel vision and then you lose to really stupid shit. And Ken, of course, will either just jump at you all day or do triple dragon punches and take all your life away in an instant. You can magic throw him out of that. Almost anything. Blankables, headbutt, you know, Honda headbutts, all that stuff you can magic throw people out of. It's just you got to be close enough to be able to do that initial upside down kick when you're pressing the kick button. Balrog can be a bit of a pain, but you can generally just crouching medium kick him to death if you really have to. Man. I'm trying to be silly. I was hoping he was going to rush punch me so I could do handcuffs on him, but oh man. I tried to switch the direction of the magic throw, but he hadn't actually crossed. He hadn't crossed past me. Vega is you can get him to do a lot of silly crap actually. If you can just get him to be close enough to do the upside down kick, he basically will just slide at you forever. But sometimes he kicks you out of it because kicks out of everything else because he's got a lot of priority and stuff. Okay, yeah. Try and beat him at the moment, I guess. Oh. The two most fun things to do with him are do an upside down kick and get him to slide at you, and then you can do whatever you like, or just magic throw him off the wall when he goes up there. I do not want to lose to him because he's so easy. He's so easy to beat with Guile. It's not looking good. Oh, okay, here's an opportunity. Definitely the hardest characters would be, for me, Zangief and Dictator. M. Bison can give me trouble. Sagat can be annoying. Oh, went to 2-player. Vega is piss easy usually, but when you're trying to style on him, he can do silly things. Let's try for that free flash kick again, just for laugh. Yep. Oh! I've never done that before. So I did the free flash kick just as time was out, and he actually turned around and faced the other way. So even I'm learning new things. Yep. Invincible. The other fun thing with World Warrior is just re-dizzies. Guile, you can just re-dizzy people just by tapping jab over and over and over again. If they're standing up, you just jab, 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 they're dizzy. Jab, 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 they're re-dizzy. It's just ridiculous. World Warrior was not in any way balanced. Okay, let's try and at least beat him the first round just to not be a complete schmuck. It's pretty good. What I want to do though is get this upside down kick so that I can slide and show him sliding everywhere. It's just jumping around a bit too much. Oh. Reverse perfect. No. You can just jump into him a couple of times and then as long as you make contact you can do the upside down kick. Oh, is he really doing this to me today? I'm gonna get grumpy and just beat him soon. Oh, that was my opportunity too. Ooh. This is what happens when you talk smack. He's real easy. Okay, that's a start. So he'll just slide for pretty much ever. Oh. So that's a really good way of getting into a proper invincibility against an actual opponent. Because you can, as long as you can get into stance, he'll slide at you forever, and then you can go straight into the fake magic throw into invincibility from there, and it's actually getting into it for real, which is kind of fun. He's probably the easiest to do that with, because most of the other characters will jump at you and kick or something and it'll knock you out of the stance. So the problem with Vega, if you're trying to flash kick him off things, is that his kicks have really good priority, so they can beat flash kicks quite a lot. And his throws have good priority too. That'll do. Just want to get past him. Sagat can give me troubles. I don't have any particularly good setups to do glitches and things on Sagat. Oh, well, I can do magic throws on this if I don't suck like last time. Not a good start. Nope. Been failing on the bonus stages today. And obviously I'm not going to get a 1 credit clear because of all this Vega. This stage is the classic palm tree in front of the characters, which were removed on all later Street Fighter 2 versions. In fact, it's so far in the foreground it's above the scores. I'm not sure if that's true on the arcade version. I think it is, but... Every time you get a flash kick that close, you should be able to do a magic throw afterwards, like that. And then so you should be able to do 2 magic throws towards you, and then they'll bounce across, and you've got to change the direction of your magic throw, and you can pull them back again. So you can, off any little flash kick like that, you can kill people from 100% health. This will probably take a few goes. Bison's a bit of a bastard. If you do a stance on Bison, he'll slide at you once, but it doesn't give you much time to get your stuff in order. So you can see I'm doing the free sonic boom after those the magic throw. Oh, he gives you so much time charging up a Psycho Crusher that yeah, I tend to do any follow-up too early on him in this version. Remember me? Remember Cambodia? I don't know that white dot is supposed to be there in the... Oh, it doesn't actually show up on the stream. The leftmost row of pixels is actually down a bit. I might report that as a bug, but it's not visible, so on the stream, it's kind of annoying. I wonder if it's only in the outro. I haven't noticed it during gameplay. I used to have a pretty good idea of how long it would take me to credit clear this game using Guile, just doing all the glitches and stuff. It was about 13 minutes, I think, because at university, between classes, if I had half an hour or something, I'd go down and play Street Fighter 2 a couple of times and then leave. There were always people around that knew how to do them as well, and they'd be, you know, either cheering you on or going, oh, after you do this, you can do this. I don't know, I still have no idea how knowledge of all the glitches and things got so pervasive in New Zealand, but everyone knew. Ab. Alright, I might move on to hyper fighting and see what that plays like. Hopefully it feels faster, because it should do. But to be honest, that Street Fighter 2 did not feel as slow as I thought it should. I may already have my buttons set up for this game. I did try it very briefly earlier. There's so many fun characters in this version. This is the worst matchup in pretty much all of Street Fighter history. can just do slow fireballs forever. He can't jump over them normally. Ooh. And if he jumps forward from the right range, you can just sweep him at the very edge of your toe and he can't do anything about it. And you can just sweep and then slow fireball, slow fireball. If he tries to jump over, you just sweep. Otherwise he just eats fireballs for the entire game. And then you got CPS 1 combos like that can re-dizzy. And a hurricane kick, which is invincible on the way down, and then you have Rue, who is top tier in this game. Blanca, the character I hate most in this version, I don't really know how to fight him well, to be honest, because his up-balls have really good invincibility, and all his normals have basically no hurt boxes. He can just jump in at you and press kicks all day. This does feel a little bit faster, but usually Street Fighter World Warrior feels like treacle in comparison to this, so I might have to do more comparisons against an actual arcade board. That would probably be my next stream, I suppose. I should be able to... can I set that up? That's probably easy to do in post-production rather than in real time. Because I've got a way of recording arcade boards into HDMI, which I can compare against this. Guile's got a really dumb behaviour in that if you do Dragon Punches close to him, he'll do a flash kick and then you can just Dragon Punch him actually. Except he's not doing it right now. Yeah, so he'll do that and you can do a much better combo afterwards. CPU Guile's pretty free. Missing all the... That's better. I was never very good at working out the strategies to defeat CPU players, but that's one of the instances that I can say that I actually have. Oh, the other glitches I might want to test out one day in World Warrior are the car glitches where people get stuck doing moves. Like you can do a backwards roundhouse jumping kick with Ryu, and he'll get stuck on the edge of the car and just it'll hit over and over and over again, like brrrr, and the car will be shaking and there'll be hit sparks, but the game's just frozen forever. And Honda can do that as well with his splash attack. I always found those quite hard to actually get off, but they are possible. Dangerous walking up to Ken like that. But this feels so much better. Okay, so MAME has a tendency to feel really bad with hyper fighting due to the frame skipping. emulation being kind of wrong. I think the actual problem is the DMA. There's a sort of a limitation in the CPS1 hardware, which means that during certain actions the CPU basically is halted, and I don't think any of the software emulation really models that, whereas this MiSTer core does, which should let it be a lot more similar feeling to the real hardware. And it certainly doesn't feel too fast. There are some like main cabinets and things where the game's just on hyper mode. Well, I mean, this is Street Fighter Hyper, but just absurdly fast. And some people think it's okay. Much better at the CPS1 combos. Ooh. We were talking earlier about in the Discord chat for the MiSTer CPS1 core, well, the Jose Tejada's Discord, about how much of a hack job hyperfighting is, about how Chun-Li's fireballs actually just 2 yoga flames on top of each other. Yoga fires. Isn't my timing for my cross-ups? That's not to say that a hack job is necessarily bad. This is in fact my favourite Street Fighter. Except for having to fight Zangief. I will probably give up this game when I lose to Zangief, and then I'll try one other thing, which will be the CPS1 version of Street Fighter Zero, or Alpha, which I don't have any particular brilliance for, ability to play even really. I don't know any tricks for it. I just want to see how it goes really, because it's quite interesting to have a version of it that you can play on so-called hardware. Anyone ever watches this and wonders why I'm pressing so many buttons when I'm doing special moves, it's called pianoing. In Street Fighter 2, you don't have much leeway for the inputs for special moves. So rather than pressing a button once, if you do a fireball and just press the button and hold it, you've got one chance to get the special move out. If you do the fireball motion and then press the button and release it, you get 2 chances, because a tap and a release are actually 2 separate inputs. Like you can hold down a punch button, I'm holding down punch now, and you can do a fireball motion, or even amazingly get out a dragon punch, and just let go of the button, and you'll get a special move out. So you can take advantage of that by, when you're doing special moves, basically tap and release all 3 buttons, and that, if you do it properly, you can get 6 chances to do special moves, which is especially important when you're trying to do reversals, which you've got 1 frame to do. So it gives you more or less 6 times the likelihood of actually getting a reversal out than you would if you just tried to press a single button. oblivion. Ooh, cross under. Walking up to CPU Dalson's a pretty bad idea. He will throw you all day. So that low kick, fierce punch combo is a trick that only works in World Warrior, Champion Edition, and Hyper Fighting. It's the only 3 games that it works in. It's called the CPS 1 chain combo. If you tap light kick and fierce punch at the same time, a fierce punch always comes out. And there's some characters who can take advantage of this because they've got rapid chaining short kicks. So you can get up close to them and just mash short kick, like crouching low kick, and then when it hits, do the special motion into fierce punch, and then cancel into fireball or whatever, and sorry, intense fireball war. And get mad combos, basically. So you go crouching light kick, standing light kick plus heavy punch. So if you ever get anyone dizzy, you can do that. It leads into pretty plausible redizzy combos in hyper fighting, of which there aren't that many. They got rid of a lot of those. There aren't many characters that can make advantage of it. Ryu, Ken, Guile are the usual 3 that you talk about. I think Balrog can? Boxer? I'll take it. It's the characters I like in this. Sagat, Ryu, Claw are my favourite 3. Ken's fun. Boxer can be fun. He's quite fun against the shadow characters. Oh, I messed it up. He's got big combos. Big painful combos. Mainly because his turnaround punch can go through fireballs. The timing's reasonably strict, but it's fun to do. He can kind of fight them. Oh my god. There we go. Alright, I'm going to give a brief try to the Street Fighter Alpha version and then call it, I think. Core Street Fighter Alpha. Takes a little while for the initial boot process on these cores. To find some buttons. So if you're wondering about the history of this game, it was originally released on the CPS 2 boards, which is the newer board after the CPS 1, but Capcom released this like home arcade board thing, which you could plug into home controllers and stuff like that, called the CPS Changer. So it was effectively an arcade board in the home. Kind of like what you'd have as a super gun now, but more sort of self-contained, less sort of hacky. And they released this version onto it, Street Fighter Alpha. And this was actually one of the first games which broke open the possibility of CPS 1 emulation, because the CPS 2 emulation, because CPS 2 was quite heavily encrypted. But because they backported this game to CPS 1 architecture, which wasn't, it actually allowed some people to start working out how the decryption worked for CPS 2 by comparing what they got out of this game with those. So it's actually a really important release in the history of Capcom emulation. And I used to play it on the PC, as I said earlier. But I don't really like Alpha all that much. Alpha 1. Supposedly Guy is really overpowered, and there's all these CPS 1 chain. I mean, oh man, not CPS 1 chain, just chain combos. So you can combo from light attacks into heavier attacks just as normal combos, which was very strange for Street Fighter. So that, yeah. What do? I just standing light punch, crouching medium punch, or something which I don't think would ever work in an earlier Street Fighter. But this one introduced the multi-level super bars, alpha counters. I think there's alpha counters in this. Can't even remember. Let's just do a level 3 Tiger Raid for no good reason. No custom combos in this one. I like Alpha 2 much more because custom combos are ridiculous and fun. I don't mind fighting games being broken as hell as long as they're fun. Ooh, that's a cool cross-up. I don't really know why I picked Sagat. I love Sagat and hyper fighting, but I don't have any particular love from him in this game. It was weird this got a native PC port. Oh yeah, that's an alpha counter. It's a cool style for Street Fighter, I suppose. The sort of more animation style is still quite nice looking, I think. Oh, this runs well. Ooh. Hey. Tech throws. First real tech throws in Street Fighter. Being able to punch people after the round ends. I miss that. What a waste. I'm not sure which chain combos Sagat has either. But in some kind of conclusion, I'd have to say, yeah, I think anyone who likes this sort of stuff should probably go out and get a MiSTer and support Jose with his Patreon. You get access to his cores earlier because he hasn't released this to the public yet. This is only available to his Patreon supporters. The CPS one work. Once the beta versions are sort of people are happy with in general, he'll release them publicly, and then a few months after that or something, he always open sources his work as well, releases it all the code for free. So he's got a really good model, I think, for having an incentive to do the work in the first place by getting people to pay for it and help them with the bug reports and things like that. I mean, the people that are most likely to help with the bug reports are crazy people that are going to pay someone to develop this kind of stuff in the first place, right? So they get early access and they can help get it all working well, and then everyone benefits at the end. Oh my god, what is she doing? Oh, I forgot she had that in this. Nope. Friend super. So yeah, I highly recommend people go out and support Jose and his Patreon to keep him doing work like this. He's got plenty more stuff out in the horizon. As I said earlier, like CPS 2 is something he's going to work on in the future, which, oh, this is going to be so good. Because the emulation, in particular of CPS 2, has never felt right to me. When you've got an actual hardware arcade platform running CPS 2, like Street Fighter Alpha 2, Alpha 3, Aliens vs Predator, all that sort of stuff, it just feels wrong in the emulation. And then you play it on hardware and it's like, it just feels right. So I can't wait for him to release that and be able to test that stuff out. But I think that'll do me for today. I think I did all the goal glitches I wanted. It's all held up pretty well. I think those two resets that I got earlier, actually it's got that left-hand row of pixels is drooping a bit again. Maybe I'll try and move it here. See if it's obvious in the screen grab as well. How do I make this smaller? That one. It's fine on that screen. And on that screen. And on that screen. So there's some screens that it's sort of the left-hand most column of pixels is not quite right. We'll do further investigation on that, but yeah. Cool. Thanks for coming in and hanging in there, Matrix. Sorry I messed up with the controls a bit earlier, but I got there in the end. Alright. See you all later.